见到这副模样的人，都得死！
The man stood between the crowded crossing area and suddenly disappears within thin air, making the cars crash. After that, a girl receives a call from him while sitting in the library. He told her that they were following her. Men in black started to appear from the walls and the shelves as they walked towards her. The man on the phone tells her to run through the corridor as she follows and goes to a locked door. It suddenly opens and she enters there. Closing the door behind her, suddenly the door's small frame window glass shatters and pushes her back. A portal opens behind her and she was suddenly pulled through it. After that, she was carried over his arms as he sprints while holding him. Suddenly, a man appears from behind him using his gun to shoot towards him, but he bounced in the air and dodged the bullet. He placed the girl on the ground and used his watch to put an energetic field on her, then jumped off the bridge to slam into the floor, causing purple lighting to appear. He rushed forward and used his energy to punch one of the men in black. He started fighting them on his own, one after another, kicking and punching each one of them. He then got caught from the back only to grab the man and throw him at his mate. Another one grabs him from the back and bounces in the air, flying. As they follow him, they started fighting in the air. He grabbed one of them and started spinning, then threw him away. Finally, one grabbed him and smashed him into a building, destroying the whole building, while the crowd beneath keep watching in shock and fear. The guy with the coat stands back up and flies in the air, but the man in black lifts a whole building up and throws it towards him. He used his hand to shoot at the building, stopping it and turning completely into a cube standing right inside it, lifting it up above the ground in the air, while purple lightning emerges, suddenly forcing the cube to start shooting towards him little cubes as it makes a huge explosion, taking them both into a mirrored world of his. The man in black tries to shoot him with his gun, but with no avail. As they stood upside down, the world started glitching and the man falls into a sea and his watch appears to go back in time. Suddenly, the girl called Shen Yao to find herself in the library with her colleague waking her up and asking her to study with him. She smiles and wakes up, then goes along with him where there's a watch laying on her desk. Later, we see Shen Yao had grown up along with all of her friends. They were having a small party in nightclub, drinking orange juice and playing Jenga. Shen Yao had lost and they told her that she has to answer a question since she lost. They asked her who was her true love. It seemed that she was in love with the boy sitting in front of her, as she admits with no fear and redness covering her cheeks. The boy blushed as he didn't believe she confessed his love her finally. He looked embarrassed as well. Later, a gang had been beating up the boy she just confessed love to. His name was Wang Xiaoshu. He looked bruised and beaten up by them as they threatened to throw him in the sea for the fish to eat him alive, just because they call him stealing the gang's leader love. He was called Sun Jun. After that, Sun called for Shen and made her watch Wang being beat up by them. He shouts, begging him to keep her out of it, while she yells at Sun to leave Wang go. They started punching him to teach him a lesson as Sun asks him who should have Shen now. Wang then pulled his head back while shouting that Sun doesn't even reach to be with the level of Shen's heel. He then pushed his forehead, headbutting the guy holding him, and fell down to the water. They looked in panic as he drowns, telling himself that if he couldn't protect his lover, then life has no meaning to him. He then started having flashbacks of primary school when he was running outside school, crying. Other students were gossiping about how dumb he looked running away from a fight. It was very rainy, so he sat down waiting for the rain to finish, but then Shen Yao appears and tells him that they should go home together. He refused and told her he can go on his own. She noticed that he was wounded and tried to bandage his wounds and finally managed to. He looked extremely embarrassed while she blows some soft air on his bandage. The rain stopped and they walked home together. While drowning down the sea, he saw a cube shining in the bottom. He started swimming towards it and then touched it, only to be consumed inside him, making him feel extremely hot from inside. It started teleporting him to space inside a cube. He was scared to drown, but he suddenly felt that he wasn't drowning. The cube spoke to him, telling him that he as a host can teleport anywhere 15 meters around the cube's radius. He then suddenly teleports into the air, just floating midair, shouting, thinking he was falling, but he did not. He noticed that the gang were still down there searching for him. Before Sun notices him in the air, he teleports away, making Sun feel confused. He then teleports to his class inside the school while dripping water. He heard voice coming from inside him calling him host. He started talking back to it, but someone was patrolling outside the class, going to check the class he was in, but suddenly he disappeared. Back in his house, he received a call from Shen, who was extremely worried about him. He told her that he swam against the current and escaped, and they're probably still searching for him over there. As he laughed, Shen was crying, not believing he managed to get out of it, and she told him to call the police. He told her to go to bed and he can take care of it. Then he hangs up. The cube talked to him again as he panics, and then it took him back to the void he was in, like when he was drowning in the sea. The cube started explaining that its name was Horadric Cube. He was his host, or as they call it on Earth, that Wang now is his master. Wang tried to move through the void he was in and felt that the walls was pure energy stopping him from going out. Then he asked the cube about what was the reason it helped him for. The cube then told him it was to grant his wish and become the king of the whole world. Suddenly, the cube takes him to the outer space, making him float. Suddenly, the cube teleports Wang to a nearby roof. The cube tells him that he's draining his energy and should be more careful. It also told him that he can use his microwave vision to spot 15 meters nearby him. Wang closed his eyes and started using his vision to look around. It seems like he was searching for something. Probably Shen, for example. Such a perv. He couldn't find what he was searching for and gasped as he tried to breathe air while contained into the void. He felt pain in his chest and collapsed. He woke up and laid on his bed acknowledging his new superpowers. He looked besides him to see the cube talking. He got shocked and stood up asking where did it come from. The cube then told him that if it stayed inside him for too long it will completely drain his energy, and if he died while inside him it will completely vanish with him, so it better stays outside him most of the time. He picked it up and went to check on the internet for Horadric cube, but he did not find any results for his search. He then got a message from Shen Yao telling him that they should go out for dinner later, and he felt so happy to go out on a date with her. But then he remembered the gang that used to beat him up. He got angry and told himself that he will never be treated like this ever again, but he has to train first to become even stronger. The cube suggested that he could use some sort of stones and I will definitely upgrade his power. Wang then asked the cube which stones does it need to consume. The cube started showing him pictures of some valuable stones in his house like his mom's diamond stone, but he was so annoyed because his mom values this ring. The cube told him that it spotted gem down in the park. Quickly Wang put on his training outfit and teleported outside after grabbing the shovel. Wang then asked the cube where is the stones spotted. The cube told him to use her microwave vision to spot the stones. Wang proceeds to use it and finally spots the stone nearby. He dug it out and looked at it. The cube told him to insert it in the void to get consumed. Once done, Wang started feeling powerful while purple and blue lighting appeared around his body, making him float once more into the space while the cube speak telling him that this was a tiny amount of power consumed and it only raised his power and sustained 2 points up. If he wants to get stronger he got to find better stones so he could become the king of the whole world. Later that day he went to school and at the class Shen Yao was in front of him asking why would he close the line on her so sudden, but then she realized that he was surrounded by their friends. She felt embarrassed. Wang's heartbeats had raised while the cube notifies him with it. He told the cube to shut up through his head. He then told her to relax, that he's fine and everything was under control. Suddenly at the door it seems like Sun Jun came along with his gang. They kicked a student out of the way while searching for Wang. Sun looked around and called out for Wang. Shen whispered to him but he smiled at her and told her to calm down. He was actually hiding his head behind a book so Sun wouldn't see him. The cube started telling him that their power was 5 and his own power was currently 20. Blood thought he was Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. As he steps forward then Shen stood up and started telling him, begging him to leave them alone. Sun walked closer to her and told her it's a misunderstanding and they should be together because Wang was only just a little boy scared to protect her. Wang stood up and smiled at Shen and told her to sit down and relax. Sun grabbed Wang by his collar and pulled him, but Wang stopped him and grabbed his wrist, squeezing it as sparks of lightning appears around his fingers. Sun felt how powerful Wang had become, but the professor had interrupted their fight telling them he will fail whoever does trouble in his class. Sun whispered in his ear to meet him at 5 p.m. if he wants Sun to leave them alone. A few hours later Wang told Shen that he's tired and he will go back home to lay down. Sun was in the sports wardrobe wondering how was Wang so powerful that there were bruises around his wrist where Wang had held him. One guy of his gang comes to Sun and tells him everything was ready. Later on, Wang had arrived at the basketball court and called for Sun Jun to come out while there was around 13 members of the gang sitting there. They started making fun of him and joking. Wang asked the cube about his success percentage in winning against them all. He looked very serious. The cube told him there was 13 members and his success rate is 20%. Wang's face was silly shocked. He lost all of his confidence and then Sun walked over to him and told him that he will not be able to escape this time like the other day. Wang then started mocking him and making fun of him. Sun started getting more and more angry, but then a bald guy from Sun's gang stepped forward and told Sun that this bug doesn't deserve his attention and he will step on for this fight. The bald guy charged forward and started attacking Wang, but he swiftly started dodging his attacks and blocking each hit he was receiving. Meanwhile, Shen was in the class trying to call Wang, but he was not reachable. The bald guy kept attacking Wang, but to no avail. He started getting tired and the block recommended for Wang to strike at this moment using this weak point of drained energy. The bald guy charged to attack, but Wang grabbed his leg and smiled at him, then charged his fist with lightning and then punched his face before pulling him back by his shirt and then threw him back against the basket's post. Everyone was in complete shock of what Wang did and how the bald guy was defeated. The cube told Wang that his chance of surviving was now 30% since the bald guy was knocked out. Sun laughed at him and told him that he has seen many people like him, but they all got defeated to the northern gang. He then told him that they were all going to attack him in the same time. They stepped forward towards him. Wang stood in ready position and prepared to fight them all at once. Wang stood ready where they all started attacking him together. Wang kept fighting them on his own, punching one and kicking the other, but due to their massive number he also received many hits. Wang felt exhausted as Sun watched him and laughed at how he looked so weak against them all. The guy behind Wang started doing some Shaolin moves telling him that he's gonna kick his butt, but Wang ran towards him and kicked him right in the balls, sending him flying across the room from how he was launched. The guy definitely has lost the ability to have kids in the future. Sun felt worried that Wang was still standing still, and if they did not finish him now he's going to be such a big deterrent in their way. He ordered everyone to attack Wang, but Wang did not stop. He ran and jumped over in an acrobatic move to stand over the stadium stands and ran away from them. He was slightly feeling tired. He slid over the bar and swiped at their feet, knocking them down. Then someone came towards him and held him from behind while another one launched himself in a flying kick towards towards him, making him fall back on the floor. Sun felt so happy and cheered while watching. Wang felt angry, so he taunted them to come at him. They started kicking him back and forth, but he managed to hit them and grabbed one's leg, spinning him around over and over, then launched him towards Sun, hitting him with his head straight to his nose. Sun got bruised over his nose while watching Wang in terror. He crawled back while crying, begging him to not come any close. Wang was already on the brink of passing out from exhaustion while the cube notifies him about it, but he didn't care and wanted to keep going. Suddenly, the southern gang appears as they have come to laugh and make fun of Sun Jun for failing in front of Wang, the one guy who defeated them all. The leader of their gang laughed while looking at Sun as Sun looked extremely annoyed. He told him that he's going to become the leader of the whole block from now on. Wang stepped into the conversation, telling him that he doesn't really care about their problem and they shouldn't have involved Shen Yao in all of this. The southern gang leader laughs at him and orders his men to beat him up. The cube recommended for Wang to run away, especially in this state of his. He ran away and they started running after him. Wang yelled at the cube, telling him to do as he tells. Wang then teleports away from them and caused a power outage, making them stand in pure darkness. He then teleported back to stand in front of the guy with the red hair. He did not notice him until he got closer. Wang charged towards him, slamming him into the floor, then started kicking and punching each of his gang and threw them flying away until one get thrown into the red-haired guy. The guy who was trying to solve the power outage turns back to look at them after returning the power to see them all knocked out. Sun Jun watched all of this and was in pure shock and terror, not believing that Wang is human. He tried to sneak away from Wang, but he teleported in front of him. Meanwhile, the school administration was outside trying to open the doors. It seems that Shen told them that Wang, her friend, is right inside there. Sun started apologizing to Wang, hitting his head into the floor trying to beg him for mercy, but Wang had an idea for him. When they opened the doors and got inside, Sun was pretending to punch Wang in the face as Wang had convinced him to do that and tell them they fought against each other and he was only held a hostage. Then they believed it. Sun also promised he will never bother Shen or Wang ever again. At this point, Wang had known his limits and he will go on a journey to increase his power and become stronger. Wang decided to go treasure hunting, searching for valuable stones and such. He went to jewelry shops and the stones looked very valuable, but of course it was at a specific price. Wang decided to spend every last penny he had and bought the digging equipment. He went deep in the woods and started digging in the dirt for stones, but it was way too deep. He couldn't reach it easily. He almost lost hope, but then the cube told him that it can sense very valuable stones nearby, and it was very rich beneath him. Wang tried to use his microwave vision to look around, but it wasn't possible. The cube told him that the place he tries to reach has to have an empty space at least 1 centimeter to use his visions on. He decided to look around for the nearest part that could possibly have that chance, and it definitely was the lake besides him. He walked towards it and found the spot he was going to use for teleportation. He used his teleporting skill and entered the cave beneath. It felt very cold and moist around him and also very slippery. He walked slowly to a dead end, but the cube told him that the stones were spotted right in front of him through the wall. Wang felt mad that it had to come to this and took a deep breath and looked around, searching for a possible entrance to that spot to use his teleportation, and the wind led him to the part he should teleport to. After teleporting and taking a step further, he almost fell down. His torch had actually met that fate. He noticed the stones nearby, so he sat down and started thinking how could he reach that part of cave, not realizing that there was a huge snake roaming right behind him. He was busy thinking about the way he could use to get those crystals and still did not notice the snake. The snake tried eating him, but he had already teleported nearby. The snake started searching for him but kept walking as if there was nothing at all. It was pretty dimly and dark. He'd not have noticed anyway. After he had managed to get closer to the stones, he started thinking of how to break the stones and stay alive at the same time. While thinking of a way to reach that ceiling, the snake had already slithered behind him, trying to chomp him once more, but he had already teleported again. As ignorant as he was about the snake, he started tying a rope to the pointy rock and then tied the rope around his waist. He then started breaking the stones and claiming them. He almost fell while grabbing a stone. He decided to use his vision to look at the bottom to what could have happened to him. While looking around, he noticed the body of the huge snake moving right beside his body. He opened his eyes and gasped looking at it. He was in terror, dodging the snake's attacks. He slipped down and fell as the snake follows, but the rope kept him hanging and the snake fell down to the water beneath. The rope didn't hold very still and ripped. Then he followed the snake down to the water unwillingly. The snake swam around him as he swims to reach the shove, and it slithered its body around him, squeezing him tight. He tried teleporting to the void, but the cube refused because the snake was touching him and it can't teleport them both. He dug his shovel into its body, making the snake scream in pain, then teleported out to the voice inside the cube. He wanted to consume the stones so he can defeat the snake, but the cube suggested that he should merge the stones to turn them into a high-tier stone, which can give him bonus stats and probably a hidden useful perk that can help him along. He agreed to it, but the cube told him the merge is going to take about 100 hours. He got disappointed, but once he realized he got 11 stones, he asked the cube to merge 9 of them and consume the other 2. After doing that, his health points raised 4 points up and his speed raised 2 points up. He teleported outside on the land and held his shovel up, preparing to defeat the snake. With amazing speed and power, he slashed the air, moving across it with the speed of sound, slashing through the snake and slamming it down very easily. The snake started sinking to the bottom of the water and he felt victorious. He saw a stone glowing down the water and held it up and decided to use it for something else. Later at the bar we see Sun Jun and the other southern gang leader drinking beer and breaking the bottles angrily as they were thinking about revenge from Wang. At the nightclub, Sun Jun was sitting with the red-haired guy. It seems like they were planning to avenge from Wang any way possible. Sun told him that they will never be able to stop him even if they both teamed up on him. The red-haired guy told him about called Leo who can take care of him for them. Sun was feeling uncomfortable. He shifted in his seat and looked at him as he says his name, asking if he was the guy who had hurt Chiego Chen and is he going to beg for such a criminal to help them. The red-haired guy, who was also the southern gang leader, told him that they're gonna use a trick to make him kill Wang for them. Later on we see Wang going on a date with Shen. They walked along together as Shen tells him that he had become strong and mysterious and this doesn't feel quite right. Wang told her that he's done with these guys bothering them so he will protect her. Shen told him that they will stand against them together. He smiled and agreed and they started running together while holding hands. They went to a nearby restaurant over the coast that shows how beautiful the sea is. Shen decided to play a game with Wang, hiding a piece of candy in one of her hands and then telling him which hand does she hold the candy in. Wang cheated and kept using the microwave vision to guess it right every time. She got disappointed that he emptied her bag of candies, and Wang told her that he did not cheat and watched how her hands move while she does it. She shifted her sight to the sea, watching how beautiful the water ripples. Wang then grabbed her hand and gave her the stone he found in the river. It was glowing and the light seemed like it was flowing inside the stone. She loved it so much and thanked him. Later on another day, Wang was standing at the traffic post waiting for Shen. He tried to call her but she doesn't answer his calls. He kept waiting and waiting but she never came. He heard that there was an accident that occurred in her neighborhood so he got shocked and started sprinting towards the place like a crazy man. At the neighborhood he found people crowding over some police obstacles while police was trying to calm Shen's mom, telling her that they will find who kidnapped her daughter, but they need her to calm down. In her room was a bloody doll hung from the ceiling. Wang was in shock. He didn't know what he should do about it and started listening until he had finally spotted Sun Jun passing out from the crowded area. Sun took a turn and suddenly noticed someone standing in front of his face. He wanted to pick a fight, but once he saw Wang in his face he started tweaking, fixing his clothes, apologizing a lot. Wang looked angry. He punched a wall next to him. It shook the whole store and cracked through the wall. He told Sun Jun to tell him everything or he would beat him up. Sun Jun agreed and kept nodding, saying he will tell him everything. Later we see at some construction area the haired guy tied down on the edge of the building with a golf ball in his mouth. Some guy had captured him and is giving him a hard lesson for lying to them about something. Even though he had told them the whole plan, but he had to be taught a lesson. He uses his mouth as a golf ball holder. When he was done he turned around and walked towards Shen, who seems to be tied up on a chair and mouth gagged to not scream. He stopped in front of her and started asking her about her relation with Chiego Chen. He pulled out the gag while looking at her. She answers that she doesn't know anything about him. He told her that he was the guy who protects her. He also had faced a whole organization all alone on his own to protect her. Shen was still saying she doesn't know who they're talking about. The guy got angry and grabbed her face, about to punch her so she talked, but his butler had stopped him. He told him that Chiego Chen knows her damn well, but he hasn't appeared yet, so she probably knows some secrets about him that they could use, like his strength and his weak spots they could use against him. And he also told them if they hurt the girl or kill her, Chiego is going to be so furious and he will go on an unstoppable rampage against all of them. The guy who was called Leo agreed to him and asked his butler to gag her mouth again, and then he left the building. The butler told her to be a good girl and cooperate or he wouldn't be able to stop him next time he gets angry. Meanwhile, Wang was interrogating Sun Jun in the alley. Sun Jun told him that they tricked Leo to make him kidnap Shen and deal with him on his own. He then started telling him about the story of the professional martial arts people who kneeled right in front of Leo to pay respect in a street called car. He told him was so majestic that even after he had left with his car they kept their head bent over the floor in respect. Wang asked about the guy who was called Chiego Chen he mentioned. He then told him it was the same guy who protected Shen Yao from the men in black at school back when she was younger. Wang agreed, remembering the story. He then told him that Leo had been crazy about getting revenge since he had amputated of Leo's finger. Even Leo's family abandoned him, but he was blinded by revenge that he kept searching for him since then. Wang then realized the whole story and why was Shen kidnapped by them. It was all because the red-haired guy lied to Leo, telling him that Shen Yao was killed only to get him go and kidnap her so he get rid of Wang for the southern gang. Wang then decided to go on his own to the constructed area. He looked up and asked the cube if Shen was up in that building. The cube told him it was true, she was there. Because of the stone he gave her, the cube had used it like a GPS. Up in the constructed area, Leo was standing with his butler, telling him that he will manage to take revenge from Chiego this time, and he paid tons of money for other fighters to help him achieve it. But another guy on the same floor that seemed to control dummies told him that he doesn't care about money, and he's also there for revenge. He looked cool and chill while resting against a wall. After that, Wang was walking through the free area when the cube had spotted 7 strong, powerful beings around him. One of them spotted him from the window. Leo told him to get rid of him because he doesn't want him to interrupt their big main event with Chiego. Wang had entered to the stairs pit, checking to see a huge lock on a door that blocks his way of climbing upstairs. He tried to break it open, but a bulked up guy with huge teeth smiling at him, telling him not to be stupid and break it. Wang was in a hurry. He grabbed the guy's collar and ordered him to give him the key. The guy took him to a room. Meanwhile, Leo had entered the room. Shen was locked inside and sat down on the couch before turning the screen on to show her the fight which is going to happen between both of them. The bulked up guy punched Wang, but he dodged it and kicked him in the face, but the guy had not flinched even once, and then he tried to punch him again. They both started fighting and punching against each other. Wang was swift but not strong enough, dodging few punches, and then the guy grabbed his arm and swiftly pulled him over, smacking him into the floor. Wang was in such a confusement. He was thinking for a way to defeat him. Wang decided to use his purple lightning to strike at the bulked up guy. Then he finally attempted to kick him, but instead teleported a hammer into his hand and slammed his head with it. The bulked up guy drops a key. Wang takes it and proceeds. He starts skipping and running upstairs before suddenly a shuriken was thrown towards him, but he dodges it. He then receives a kick to his face while skipping the stairs up, causing him to almost fall off the stairs. He held onto them while looking up at the guy who kicked him. The guy told him that he will be waiting for him in the room upstairs. Wang tried to catch him while he was walking up to find him not there anymore. He entered the room and walked around searching for that guy. It seemed like he was teleporting a lot, but he lacked a lot of strength. However, the cube told him that he was 75 strength points, and Wang was only 50. Wang didn't care about it and kept walking forward. He noticed that the guy was attacking from the back and dodged, and then the guy threw the shuriken towards Wang, but he dodged it. The guy did not stop there. He used his tech to return the weapon back. Wang noticed it and dodged it and swiftly bounced few times, smacking his head with his foot. Wang yawned, pretending that this is boring and he should improvise. The guy did not want to lose no more. He stood on one of the ceiling's posts, remembering his childhood where he was getting hurt by his master, how he treated him bad and abused him to train him in the most harsh ways with vile characters. He learned to be stronger and ready for any kind of attack. He was hanging down from the post like Dracula, waiting for Wang to turn around, but once he launched himself at him, Wang gave him a slap on his face. The guy was in shock. He then started bouncing all around while using the shuriken, slashing and slicing into Wang's body, until he turned around and teleported a baseball bat, then gave him a massive hit into his body, making him pass out on the floor. Meanwhile, a man was watching Wang's fight while sitting with another girl who seemed very dangerous. They were one of the bosses Wang is going to fight against. The girl didn't seem scared of Wang and was pretty much looking forward to fight him. Wang then walked in the next room to find a guy called Beowulf giving him his back. Wang wanted to take him by surprise from the back of his head. He swung his bat, but Beowulf grabbed the bat and lifted Wang, slamming him into the floor. The cube had informed Wang that the gems he was trying to merge and combine are almost finished, and there's only 1 minute left. Wang tried his best to not give up in front of Beowulf as he grabbed him in a sleeper hold. Wang teleported a shuriken to his hand and wounded Beowulf to get free from his grip. They started fighting and throwing punches at each other, but Beowulf was very strong, almost invulnerable. Wang tried to run away from Beowulf, doing a backflip while using the wall, but Beowulf manages to grab his leg and slam him into the floor, cracking it from how hard he had slammed him. Wang quickly dodged the jump attack. Wang tried to throw a punch at Beowulf, but he grabbed his arm and broke a bone in it. He kept throwing punches at Wang and finally slammed him back into the wall. He finally charged a strong punch at Wang, making him collapse. He apologized to Wang, but the stones had already merged inside Wang. He had become extremely powerful, raising in power stats. Beowulf tried to attack Wang again, but Wang was way faster. He started slamming punches into Beowulf's chest over and over, but suddenly feeling pain coming from inside him. The cube informed him that this was the way to get poisons out of his system, and it was very normal. Wang finally threw a huge punch into Beowulf, causing him to fly back and finally get slammed against the wall, making a huge crack in it. He then gave him a final punch, making him go through the concrete wall and through a door, cracking it open. Leo was in the other room with Shen, watching all of this show. He slammed the glass full of wine into the floor. He was very angry that 3 men of the strongest men he had hired could not end him. The butler tried to calm him down, telling him that definitely the next one is going to end his life. Leo wasn't happy with what he said and wanted to be convinced more with it. The butler started explaining to him that the girl on the next floor wore powerful wrist cuffs that holds her back from unleashing her power. Once these cuffs break, even them will have to escape. Meanwhile, Wang was climbing the stairs looking bruised and wounded. The poor guy was exhausted, even his legs couldn't carry him up. He asked the cube for the next opponent's power value, but the cube couldn't really calculate it. Wang was furious. He was going to do anything to help Shen. The cube noticed 2 persons standing in the next room. Wang's heartbeat was raised and he was very nervous. Even the cube inside him noticed him and started recommending that he should control his feelings or he will black out. Wang opens the door to find find the man and the little girl standing in the middle of the room. Wang had entered to the next floor to meet the petite girl standing with the older man. She looked cute and adorable. She ran towards him while holding a tool that tests the inner power. The tool gave her no power indicator at all. She was surprised that he wasn't any special human, and the man who was standing behind her was checking his power core and it gave them 0 power. The little girl shook his hand with a smile greeting him. Wang let his guard down and shook her hand back, but then she punched his face. Wang was shocked and decided to return the favor, giving her an uppercut while holding hands. The little girl was in pure pleasure, loving how powerful the punch was. It bruised her chin slightly, but loved every moment of it. He threw her hand away and looked at her, thinking she was a sick little fudge who loves pain. She charged towards him and started punching him several times in the chest and stomach, throwing him back to the floor, then swiftly swung her foot, kicking his face, and threw him back against the concrete post. The man standing behind the girl started advising Wang to say his last words because he will not be able to deal with her. Wang held his face. His sight started getting blurry, but he managed to stand on his feet again. He rushed towards her and punched her face, causing her nose to bleed. She didn't block it or anything, but she was in pure ecstasy. With crazy psycho eyes, she charged towards him and started throwing punches after punches towards him, but Wang managed to block it. The girl was laughing hysterically while hitting him. Wang finally punched her to the nose, throwing her back, and she still loved it even more. Wang started raining punches after punches at her, but she didn't even flinch or guard up. She just stood there happily asking for more while laughing. She then mocked him and kicked him in the chest, pushing him back, raising a wolf aura that looked extremely dangerous. The man stepped forward and grabbed her wrist, telling her to not unleash her power, but she asked him not to interfere because she wanted to get stronger and escape from this hell together. Sharp nails had appeared to her fingers and her teeth had become even more pointed. She jumped at Wang and slashed his arm, tearing through his flesh. He started bleeding as he shifts his head to search for her, but she had vanished, suddenly appearing from behind, holding into his arm, licking his blood. He then shoved her away. It seems that she had become even stronger. She stood in a wolf posture. Wang kept fighting her. He couldn't even manage to hit her once. She was very strong and fast. He couldn't keep up with her. Even Wang thought she was possessed. She jumped and latched to the back of his neck with her teeth, biting and sucking his blood. He then punched her off his back and held the place she had bitten. The man who was standing with her was so worried he pulled out a needle from his jacket and threw it at her, penetrating her skin. She calmed down and fell to her knees on the floor. The man with her rushed towards her, feeling worried that she managed to get all this strength from his blood. He sat behind her and started poking her skin with the needle, which made her go back to her original human form. Wang wanted to take the chance to end them both, but the man used some wind power with one hand to push him back. He didn't want to leave the little girl and wanted to keep healing her, but Wang stepped forward, so the man had no choice but to stand up and fight Wang. He used his wind power to slash through Wang, but Wang dodged his attempt and the slash flew forward to the wall, making a slight explosion. The little girl started growling again, and it seemed like the wolf was about to come out again, so the man had to go back to her and healed her. He then told Wang that if he wants to rescue his friend in the upper floor, he can go and he will not attack him. Wang didn't believe him and told him to say they surrender, but the man refused because his gang didn't ever surrender before. He pulled out a truce coin and made a blood promise to not touch him once he goes to the next floor. Wang records it all just to make sure and takes the coin and goes upstairs. Later on, the man started calling someone using an earbud called Misha. He told her that they must leave now because the little girl had an accident. Misha was annoyed and wondered what could be the problem, but suddenly the guy who's probably called Chiego-chen appears from behind her and knocks her out. The man kept calling for her name, but she did not answer. Meanwhile, Leo was in this room watching the screen while Wang climbed stairs while sitting with the guy who controls the dolls, who's also called Chu Mashin. He suddenly got up and started walking to the door. Leo was confused why he was leaving. He told him that all his thugs had been taken down. Leo got angry and started kicking the things around him. The butler advised him to leave the place immediately because it's not safe anymore. Leo kept begging Cho to stay, telling him that he will give him multiple to pay out 4 times. The doll on his shoulder shifts and throws an attack at him, but the butler stands in front of it to block it, telling Leo to leave him for now because he's a boomer and tends to watch Queso twice a week. Wang tried to enter the room in the next floor he was heading towards, trying to open the knob, but it didn't turn. He punched the door a few punches and finally entered, looking around as he felt someone nearby. It was the guy who controls the doll, who was called Chu. The cube informed Wang that he was only 7 power strong. Wang did not believe it and wanted to make sure, so he asked the cube once again. The cube confirmed it, but it was not sure what's the power of the doll is since its design complicated, but there was a medium valuable stone inside it. Chu then bounced off the post, doing a tornado kick towards Wang, causing him to be knocked back way far until his back slammed against the wall. Wang took a deep breath while Chu explains that Wang counts of brute force and Chu counts on techniques and strategies along with spells and teleportations. He started summoning a purple talisman card while Wang grabbed all the empty bottles around him, throwing him at Chu, raining them on him as if he had no other way else to survive. Chu kept hitting every bottle thrown at him, and then they started an amazingly epic, unstoppable fight. Wang tried to kick Chu, but he managed to dodge, roll back, and kick him away. Then they started fighting each other in a very professional martial arts action fight. Chu tried to summon talisman cards, but Wang managed to stop him from using them. They both started kicking through the posts and breaking the walls, throwing chairs and buckets into each each other as they fight. Chu performed a kick on Wang, pushing him back, but Wang temporarily blinded Chu by kicking dust into his face. He used advantage to fight him through his pain. Chu kept dodging his kicks and stopping his punches, trying to pull out a shiny object, but Wang kicks it out of his hand. Chu tried to roll and pick the object from the floor, but Wang didn't give him the chance to use it. Chu rolled back and blocked his attack, which broke the table. They bounced up over the ceiling posts and continued to fight each other in a professional dance that does not stop. Wang didn't stop attacking him until the eye drops had flung from his hands into the air and fell to the ground, breaking. Wang performed a powerful downward kick, breaking the concrete posts and sending Chu to the ground, rolling back and taking a stance to continue fighting Wang. They didn't stop fighting, throwing punches at each other, professionally blocking each one until Chu finally managed to stick a talisman to Wang's chest and used it with a punch to explode into his chest, pushing him back. Chu used this advantage to keep performing kicks into Wang until he swiftly slammed him into the wall, making him go through it. Suddenly, a long red rope was launched at him through the dusty smoke, but Wang managed to dodge it. It was Chu's doll being used by his own fingers as the doll's laughs and started firing barrage of green bullets. It started hitting into Wang's body, pushing him back into the wall, breaking through it as the barrage never stopped. It even went through the whole building. Wang came out of the other wall and tried to dodge every single bullet while rolling a punching the others and finally reaching the doll, kicking it back into the wall until suddenly Chu jumps from behind at him. Wang tried to react fast, but Chu had already performed a punch to his chest, causing him to start spitting and splashing blood from his mouth. Meanwhile, Chu found that Wang had held strands of his hair. Wang looked psychotic at this point while Chu begs him to let go of his hair, trying his best to pull away from his grip, but Wang didn't ever think of letting go. Chu tried to slap his face, but it only hurt his hand. Wang took a deep breath and performed a super powerful punch into his chest, sending Chu back into the wall while ripping some of his hair. Wang thought that if Chu was like any basic average human with 7 power, he should definitely die from such a powerful punch. But Chu stood up on his feet and a talisman vanishes from over his chest after his hair had been ripped out from his scalp. Chu told him he was surprised to destroy his guardian angel spell with only 1 punch. He must be so powerful to do such a thing, and if he didn't learn from this fight, then he spent thousands for nothing. Chu started to transform, clothes ripping and his muscles started to appear while talisman purple cards started to spark over his body. He then told Wang that whoever saw him in this form is dead. He then called for the evil spirit shrine, which was the state he was in. His hair had become fully white as he started dashing extremely fast. Even Wang couldn't have a proper picture of him anymore, punching him and sending him into the air with each punch. He was extremely and massively fast. Blinking, he then dashed above him and slammed him against the floor, and then charged at him with his speed, slamming him against another floor, which sends him flying back. He then charged towards him again, fighting hand to hand, but this time he kept slapping talismans over Wang's, causing it to explode and made Wang lose balance to receive a hit onto his left cheek, and then he used another card to explode against his chest and sends him back, launching a breaking through several concrete posts. Wang was about to fall off the building before he had managed not to fall, but not a second later Chu started firing barrage of bullets towards Wang as he dodges each one of them and run away, trying to sprint through the rooms to not get hit by the bullets. Chu then used his doll to start unleashing a bigger fire barrage onto Wang while he runs away, asking Chu if he's having fun. Wang then jumped onto the air and landed in front of the doll, grabbing its face and holding it against the post. Chu used the thread to make the doll hold onto Wang's hand before Chu grabs the thread and swings it with all of his force to make Wang swing along with it through walls, outside the whole building, and finally back into the building, slamming him into the wall as Wang had almost lost conscious. Chu pulled the doll back and asked Wang if he knows how much money the talismans on Wang's body had cost him, but Wang didn't seem to care. Chu activated the talismans, which he had already slapped against Wang's arm, making him lose balance and fall to the floor. Chu explained that each one of them costs 700,000 of his currency, and each one of them weighs 1.5 million kgs. He then used another talisman, throwing it into Wang, making a huge explosion into the whole building. Meanwhile, Leo was watching in his private room and Shen was watching in fear. Chu looked happy, thinking he had already finished him off, but it appears that Wang had blocked the attack with his shovel and the talisman did not stick to his body. Wang stood up and told him that this was the power of a farmer and his $1 shovel. Chu used his doll to launch forward towards him to kill him, but Wang stands up using only one hand, dashing through the doll, slicing it into 2 parts. He then grabbed the thread Chu had held. Chu tried to pull the thread back but was shocked to find Wang not moving an inch, while Wang reminds him he had applied 3.7 million weight to him, so he's never moving. Instead, he pulled Chu towards him and used his right cursed hand to punch at Chu, using him like a yo-yo, sending him back into the air, and then pulled him back for a punch, doing it 100 times and throwing a barrage of punches into him, then final a super punch, making it thrown way back, breaking through few walls and finally crashing into a wall, cracking it. He looked bruised and thin, almost dying, while his hair turns back to black and Wang feels the talismans disappear off his arm. He started walking towards the door, but he was extremely exhausted and almost blacking out. Leo stood in front of a window looking angry as the butler tells him that they should be leaving at this point, but Leo refused to leave, telling his butler that he still got one more winning card that he will use and he had sacrificed everything for such a moment. His butler promised to keep going until his last breath. Meanwhile, the doll that that was in the room with Wang started beeping as if it was about to blow. Wang was shocked as Chu had threw himself out, breaking through the wall and applying a talisman to his chest, making him float in the air, using another talisman to make the doll explode. But suddenly the night has fallen and nothing happened, and at all, it was very quiet. Chu was confused and actually shocked. He kept waving with the talisman, hoping it would explode anytime soon, but it did not, and suddenly Wang jumped out through the wall with the small cart. Chu was shocked even more. He summoned several talismans and threw them at him while he falls down, creating explosions. Wang jumped using the explosion, holding on the lifter and swinging into a metallic tower. He then bounced off to fly towards Chu, but he used the falling stones with talismans to make them float into the air, as he uses one of them to stand on, throwing explosions at Wang. Wang had fallen down to one of the floating rocks and seemed like he had passed out. Chu broke a piece of the rock he was standing on after applying a few exploding cards and threw it at Wang, who seems unconscious. He tried to wrap him in explosions, but Wang wakes up and uses his shovel to grab a rock and use it, get launched by the explosions towards Chu. Chu managed to activate cards on the rocks behind Wang to fall onto him and explode, making a huge ball of fire, flaming Wang inside it. Wang, almost passing out, remembers Shen Yao, his lover. He grabbed his hand in his imagination, causing him to gain massive power, using the explosion to unleash a barrage of punches into Chu while falling to the floor, and finally slammed him into the floor, making a massive huge hole with cracks into the asphalt, until finally Wang falls into the void cube with the doll laying beside him. The rain started hailing down on the poor exhausted guy, making him wake up in shock with a red-black eye, shouting for Shen Yao. Wang then stood up with red eye and ripped clothes. It seems like Chu had already vanished through thin air, leaving only his clothes flying. Wang decided to finish what he already started, going upstairs to the room where Shen Yao was and found the guy from the southern gang. He held him up against the post and asked for Shen Yao. He pointed to a room with wood planks was covering it. Shen was trying her best not to come closer until he had already entered and untied her. She yelled at him, warning him that there's a bomb that will explode the moment she stands up. Wang wasn't scared about it and told her it's nothing for what he had seen as he rips the bomb off. Leo closes the metallic door and laugh at them, telling him that he will watch them both explode into pieces. The cube informed Wang that he cannot use teleportation in there, but then Wang started asking the cube how to stop the bomb, and it told him to cut the wires in a specific pattern. Wang cuts it and then teleports it into the cube, feeling glad that it will only explode into the void. It kept on ticking while Wang happily hugs Shen Yao, but suddenly the bomb explodes inside Wang and makes him fall to the floor as if he had exploded from inside. It seems that the bomb had also made the doll explode with the gem inside of it, making Wang look extremely horrified. Leo got angry that the bomb didn't explode. He then entered the room and pulled out a gun and started shooting them both. The butler came and told Leo that they should leave because this specific man had arrived. Shen fell onto Wang's chest, bleeding. Wang tried to stand up and carry Shen to the hospital, but suddenly the glitches started to appear, and the guy called Chiego Chen had also appeared. He teleported Shen from Wang's hand to his own embrace as Wang tries to crawl after him, telling Shen that he will protect her. As Chiego leaves the building, telling Wang that he cannot even protect himself, Chiego bounced out of the window. Wang felt hysterical, thinking she had fallen from the window, and shouted her name towards the window to see her in the man's embrace while he speaks to Wang, telling him that he knows nothing about her or about the super world and he will also take care of her. He then disappears and Wang shouts her name very loudly. Shen Yao's parents were sitting in their living room crying over their lost daughter. Meanwhile, Wang was standing on a nearby sidewalk while the rain was showering him. He was so mad that Shen Yao had disappeared and the cube stopped answering him, but he still managed to use his skills. A car stops nearby and a female walks over to Wang and tells him to come with her because she needs to talk, telling him she knows something about Leo. Wang was shocked and looked back at her, wondering what she knew about it. She took Wang to a cafe shop to drink some American coffee and mocha. Wang then asked her what does she know about Leo. The female then told him to answer her first about what he knows about superhumans and mutants and how do they remain unseen. Wang told her that they're probably very good at hiding. She smirked at him and told him that they guarded by people like her working in her facility. Wang smiled and told her that it's obvious to find out the three men behind him are trying to kill him. He shifts in his seat and then the female moves her hand to her skirt to pull out a gun, and the three men behind him pull out their guns and aim it at him. Wang told her that she should not try this and she'd better keep him entertained or he will leave. The female dismissed the guards as they pull their guns back and stand in fear looking at him, while Wang uses his microwave vision to check out her ID. The female had a blush on her face and hid her ID while one of the guards whispers in her ear telling her that he had superpowers and they were warned about him. He then understood that there was facilities for superpowers and supernaturals and mutants just like the normal government for normal humans. She then told him that heroes who had recently awakened their powers are on the brink of death and they work on protecting them secretly, and since they were protecting him he got to return the favor. Wang told her that he now knows they want to turn him into a mercenary for them just like the guards standing behind him who were classified to be in the C tier of power. The guard whispered in her ear telling her that Wang was in the B tier of power and they would never be able to stop him if they wanted to. The female told him that he has to do 3 missions for them in return and she will tell him where Leo was located. Wang agreed to her, telling her it's a 1-for-1 and also they should tell him more about Chiego Chen after telling him about where Leo is located, of course. She agreed and gave him a folder with all the information about his mission. The mission contained a task where he has to be her bodyguard. Wang told her that he's a student and he can't have a job like this while he studies. She told him that it's all covered up for one day only and he will pay 50 grand. Wang was surprised from the number and asked her why should he trust her. She told him that they had just talked in a civilized conversation for a good amount and he will just have to trust them if he wants to know about Leo. He also had to be tested first to see if he's qualified to have the job. Then they left the cafe. Wang started thinking to himself about what he should do and how he could trust them. But he also had checked her ID and he got to know about her more, so he had to risk it just for the sake of Shen. Later, the female was riding the car with her guard driving it. He asked her how could they trust him, but she told him that it's okay since she had already investigated about him. She also known that he just awakened his power and he had already beat B-tier superhumans and it's a big investment to have them to their side. Meanwhile, Wang was actually laying inside the cube over their car's roof listening to what they were saying while they drive. The driver then told her that if he knew about the amount of information they got, there will be a huge problem. She told him to calm down, they will just fool him and give him tier D information that won't help him much. The driver agreed to her wiseness. Wang was furious and angry that they were trying to fool him, teleporting somewhere else as he talks to himself that he will not be used and in fact they will still be useful to him. The next day Wang was walking through the forest. He didn't understand why the GPS had been leading him to this part, but as he kept walking it led him to a villa where a female stands at the door greeting him and telling him that this was the place he will be having his test. He entered the villa to find lots of people in that place and a man stood forward clapping his hands and picking up a microphone started speaking, telling them that they will be tested her to see who will be the best bodyguard for a specific man. Loyalty is number one for them, but also they need to be tested for three important things. It would be IQ and fast reflexes and of course fighting skill. The first test is IQ test. Then a room opens where there's lots of gambling tables. They told them everyone will receive 5 coins and they will have to work their way gaining as much coins as possible, but no cheating, stealing or fighting. Each one stepped forward and started receiving 5 coins as they smiled and laughed happily about them getting entertained. As for the first test, Wang was glad that this should be better than fighting each other. A guy started talking with Wang about not choosing the casino 777 jackpots because it's going to be such a scam, and blackjack would also be a scam since they will be messing the cards around. Wang did not seem to care, he actually thought the guy was talking to himself. Wang moved around the room to check out for the games they use and finally found a game where he knows, which was find the coin under the 3 cups. The guy followed Wang and told him that he should bet with him on where the coin. Wang asked him about why would he want to do this and the guy called him a chicken for not going for it. Wang then threw the 5 coins on the table and gambled with him on finding where the coin is placed. The guy gladly puts his coins too and they start the game. The chick who run the game grabbed a golden coin and swiftly slipped it under one of the cups, then started shuffling the cups all around swiftly and quickly that normal eye cannot comprehend. She finally stopped and the guy betted on the left cup, but Wang betted on her right hand, telling her that she was keeping the coin into it. Obviously Wang had to use his micro vision to know about this. The girl smiled and switched the coin with her other hand, but Wang told her to show him both of her hands just in case. The girl smiled and showed him the other hand, which there was the golden coin. She told him he wins the bet, but the guy with long hair was flabbergasted. He started thinking they were cheating and checked the table all around, but it appears that the girl had some tricks and wasn't a cheat at all. Another girl with purple hair seemed to be winning as well, claiming more coins, and finally after a lot of executions Wang had been qualified along with a bunch of other people. They told them that they all got the job. Wang sat down along with the rest of the qualified colleagues and the man who made the test greeted them and told them that they will meet the boss, who's called Bio. A fat rat looking man enters the room, not even smiling. He walks to the middle of the room and starts greeting them and congratulating them for qualifying, and told them that tonight dinner is going to be epic. He also told them if they won tonight there will be amazingly valuable rewards, and then left the room telling the author to continue with the rest of the informations. The man told them that Bio is a very generous man and their fees has already been paid to their accounts, which is $3 million. Wang was shocked due to the fact he got scammed by the lady telling him it was only 50 grand. He felt very envious and disappointed while everyone in the room looked at him in confusion. After that they got assigned to their jobs, everyone taking a file about the mission while riding a car as they talked about the first event of the night, which will be an auction. Mr. Bio wanted to join, which contains a very rare and famous eyes mask. While flipping through the pages Wang noticed a valuable stone which will be auctioned for through the night, which is called obsidian. Wang remembered the cube telling him in a flashback stuttering obsidian before going full black when Leo shot Shen Yao in that building. Wang was sad he got scammed with the money, but however he's in need of that stone. After arriving, all of Bio's guards had rushed inside the palace, walking all together looking around them at all the guests in that room. It seemed elegant and fancy, full of a lot of rich people. A guy steps at the golden microphone, flicking it, and lights had risen showing the colors of the palace as the owner of the palace greets them, suddenly ordering to open the middle of the palace's floor as the ground doors move aside, showing a very dark cage with a strong looking crocodile waiting in the bottom with a golden bell attached to his neck. The author had said the first game is called the Warrior's Golden Bell. One of the rich men trying to peek through the cage gets shocked when he sees the fire igniting in the bottom of the cage to light it up and show its surrounding. The man thought he would fall, but the author walked over the hole, showing them it was covered with bulletproof glass to prevent any unnecessary unnecessary accidents. He told them the game rules are simple and it's to snatch the golden bell from the crocodile's neck, but once the warrior is inside the cage he doesn't quit or come out until he had managed to retrieve the bell. Wang was annoyed from his announcement, wondering what has this to do with the bodyguards and their sick psychos trying to use them for their sick fun. The author had also brought up motivations, which seemed to be few dozens of golden bars for the winner of this game. Then the door of the cage opens and we see a man holding a shield and a spear walking towards the crocodile. The author had called him the first contestant. He walked slowly towards the crocodile and then shouted as he ran towards the bell, but the crocodile growled and jumped at him, eating him in a few bites as blood splashes everywhere. The author smiled and informed them that the crocodile is not any normal crocodile. It was genetically modified in their company, and his stats raised multiply 1.5 times, so for such a trick they will increase the prize 30% further. He was very quick and strong. One of the rich men laughs as he watches the man getting ate, asking a woman of his if she was having fun watching as she screams, "It's true how sick those people were." Then one of the rich men talks to one of his men, asking him if he could do it. The man confidently tells him that the crocodile is fast and strong, but he got a small attack range. He steps forward to take his turn. The guy had chosen several wooden spears to fight the crocodile. Meanwhile, Wang was wondering who would risk their lives for money. One of the guards standing with him tells him that he haven't read the contract properly. One of the items in the contract informed that one will get chosen randomly if everyone had refused to join, and that's why they had received 3 millions for such a job. Wang was annoyed that he only received 50 grand, regretting it once more. Shifting his eye, he sees a man standing in one position in the second floor watching everyone. Their eyes meet and Wang felt embarrassed. The guy explaining to him about the contract informs him that this was the one who makes sure everything was stable. Meanwhile, the guy who had entered looked like he had already stuck few spears in the crocodile's body as it bleeds slightly. The man was hanging to the wall looking down at the aggressive crocodile in confidence. He was swift and slamming another spear into the crocodile's body, then bounced all around the cage, not letting the crocodile reach him. Wang noticed that the crocodile didn't really seem like it had taken any damage from all of these spears so far. The man tried to pounce on the crocodile from behind to kill it, but the crocodile spun and smacked the warrior into the air, killing him, causing his blood to splash everywhere, and his body parts fly to the glass ground. The author looked like he felt pleasure from seeing this, licking his lips lightly. After that, the author had increased the prize for another 30%. One of the men called Modi wanted to fight the crocodile to be stopped by another guy called the Golden Poison, and this clash only meant that they will have to fight each other to death for a last man standing. Moody's boss told him that if he won he will receive a promotion and get an increase in his pay. Modi felt happy looking back at his boss, trying to tell him that he was very grateful, but before he could speak the Golden Poison had already been biting and sucking on his neck, draining his body of blood. His ability seemed to raise his max power by drinking his opponent's blood, and the stronger the opponent the more power he receives. But once the effects vanish he will receive a debuff that causes him to fear cold and light. Once the Golden Poison had won they told him that he can go now and face the crocodile. He went down to the cage walking in confidence with his hands tucked inside his pockets. The author asked him if he doesn't really need a weapon. He mocked him and told him that the crocodile doesn't have a weapon, so it's only fair to fight it without one. They all started watching in shock as the Golden Poison stand in front of the crocodile, which starts running towards him trying to chomp him, but he jumps on the air and lands on its head, then softly kissed the crocodile's neck. The crocodile stopped and then blinked before suddenly the Golden Poison jumps, having the croc's whole head get ripped off, flinging the bell onto the floor. The author looked in surprise but didn't even flinch. The Golden Poison grabbed the bell and walked back to the author, giving him the bell. The author asked if he wants to have the prize now, but he smiled and refused, telling them to send it over at his place. Bio was happy one of his guards achieved the prize and raised his glass in cheer. The author announced to them that they were just getting started and they won't even guess what the next monster is. The floor started moving down like an elevator and some red glows from the hole as a monster appears. The author speaks, telling them that he introduces his last inventions. A monster with the agility of a wolf and the strength of a million bear. A monster with 3 eyes appear in the cage. Wang felt true fear while looking down into the hole. The author had called the monster Tau 17.
After that, the author speaks through the microphone and everyone is amused by the build of Monster Tau 17. The author doubled the previous reward for anyone who would defeat the monster. Wang felt something fishy about this whole thing. The first contestant entered the cafe while holding a sword to defeat the monster. While the monster was already munching down on the person who tried to put the bell on his neck, the contestant tried to charge forward and attack the monster, but the monster pounced against the wall, evading his attack, and started attacking the glass attached to the ceiling, which was there for everyone to watch through. Everyone started to panic and run, scared that the monster was trying to escape, while the author tried to calm them down. The monster had already made few scratches through the glass, which caused the author to be worried. The contestant was annoyed that the monster ignored him, so he tried to attack him from the back, but the monster disappeared and suddenly pounced on his back, killing him and taking his weapon. He looked up at the author angrily and jumped up, breaking a piece of the glass using the sword. Wang kept looking around since he still felt something smelled gay about it. He figured out it was the Golden Poison. The guy who defeated the crocodile had used a special dust to defeat the crocodile, but for what reason did they mean to cause all this chaos? The author turned around asking the guards to stop this chaos, but the monster had already broken the glass and jumped out, looking at at the author before spitting the sword aside. The monster pounced at the author, but one of the special guards had jumped in front of him to block the attack by kicking it in the face. The author ran away, thanking the guard, and asked him to send his guards with their machine guns and weapons, but the special guard refused, telling him it will cause more chaos. Biao thought it was a special event. While one of Biao's guards, the girl with blue hair, slipped away for some reason, the special guard started calming everyone down, telling them they will take care of everything, the monster roared, but one of these guards pounced at the monster and punched his head down to the floor, ending his whole career. Poor monster turned into a puppy. Wang was still acting like a detective, trying to understand what all of this happened. He started counting his colleagues, but noticed that one was missing. He understands it now. Meanwhile, in the corridors under the event, the guards were roaming around. Suddenly the light goes off. They thought it was caused by how old that palace was. Being so ignorant, the girl with the blue hair stealthily took one of them out and then knocked out the other. She piled them both in a room and set off to her next object. Using a device, she disconnects the camera and gets passed through. While the guard watching the camera had no idea what was going on, she used a rope to slide down to the lowest floor in that place and force the door open, applying a glove with special fingerprints to open the next door. Surprised by Shredder waiting for her. Meanwhile, Wang was secretly observing everything from hidden spot. The girl tried to attack Shredder, but he blocked her attack, then attacked her only for her to evade it and get her hat torn apart. A common guard appeared and aimed towards her, but she kicked his hands, dropping his gun, and finished with a kick, slamming him into a wall. Another common guard started shooting few rounds, but she grabbed the knocked out guard and threw him towards him, stopping the bullets and then kicking them both at once. Shredder had managed to take advantage of her dropping down her guard, pouncing towards her with an attack, but suddenly, Wang appears and grabs his wrist, stopping the attack. She was shocked as to why he was there and started chatting, but the special guard tried to give another attack before Wang knocks him out using his elbow. Wang replied to her, telling her that he knew she was the boss of this whole operation after seeing her position when danger appeared. Even Biao worked for her. He understood she had a secret mission and now he had to protect her since he applied to the job. Wang told her that they should keep going because more guards were expecting them. They set off and stopped at a dead end. She was puzzled as to where should the treasure be. Wang offered to tell her where it was only if she told him how to escape that place when they're done. Suddenly Wang sensed danger and quickly pulled the girl by the arm while a barrage of fire started to shoot towards their previous spot. The special guards had already arrived, telling them they should surrender, but Wang had a plan. As he puts on sunglasses, the girl threw a flash bomb towards them, but Wang used a bat to swing at the bomb, returning it to sender, flashing everyone. Wang used advantage to escape with the girl. As they run off, the special guard female appears in front of them again, telling them the game was over, while another guard appears from behind them, blocking their escape, and finally another blind guy charging through the wall, destroying it, but they managed to dodge it and continued until he destroyed the opposing wall while he charged forward. The girl with the blue hair tried to unsheath her katana, but the female guard wraps a whip around her arm, stopping her. Meanwhile, Wang tries his best to dodge the attacks of the guy using the knife. The blind guard manages to grab Wang and slam him against the wall. The female guard kept slashing with her whip while the blind man takes advantage and punches her, slamming her to the wall next to Wang. Wang smirks at them and releases a fake bomb from his hand. They flinch and cover their faces, but the bomb doesn't explode, and Wang runs off with the blue-haired girl managing to hide somewhere. They took a break trying to think of a plan, and it seemed like Wang had found a solution. Wang walked alone through the corridor while the three guards stopped him. They asked him where had the girl who came along with him went, but he told them he teleported her out because she was going to be an obstacle for him. The female boss asked one of the guards to go find her, and they will both take care of him. They charged towards him, but suddenly the ceiling cuts open and the blue-haired girl started attacking the female guard. She ran over the wall to attack her. As they clashed together, the blind guy tried to attack her, but Wang managed to stop him and throw a punch towards him, knocking him out. The blue-haired girl used advantage of the guard, unaware of her next attack, and kicked her, knocking her back on the floor. Wang told her to follow her as he performs a punch to the wall, breaking it open. She was amused by his strength, wondering why didn't he just break through walls from the start, but he told her the tunnels were old and it could break down easily. They entered the room and found the treasure they were searching for. The girl told Wang that she called dibs on the scroll, but Wang was completely uninterested in what she searched for. He had found the obsidian stone he had been searching for. They set off to the elevator planning to leave the place, but Wang felt that something was fishy. Meanwhile, the guards tried to recover after the one left had returned to them. Suddenly, someone with white hair and white beard approached them, scolding them for all this chaos happening. Just cause he took a nap, they referred to him as master. The guy offered her a few tablets, asking her to consume them. While the elevator was going down, a bunch of guards were waiting for them, aiming their guns towards the door's exit. The blue-haired girl told Wang she still had business to do, and if he wanted to leave, he should just go on and do so, but Wang refused and told her that his job is to protect her, so he will keep going with her. The girl pulled out her device again, disconnecting the camera to the elevator, and unsheathed her sword, preparing to attack the guards standing outside. Once the door opened, they started firing, but she managed to go through and defeat them all in a blink. Meanwhile, the special guards were running to their spot. Wang was impressed by her skills. She told them they got no time and they have to keep going. She pulled out a map and showed him where they're at and where they should head to. Wang goofily started walking, taking the wrong route, but she scolded him, telling him that this was the wrong route, you goofy boomer. They started running towards their destination, but suddenly was shocked to find a blood puddle on the floor, as if someone was killed, and dragged towards the locked door. The girl put on the gloves with the special fingerprints and opened the door. Wang tried tried to warn her that this was giving off a bad vibe, but she kept going forward. She told him that this place was called Dewey Bang Institute for Genetic Biological Research. They kept marching forward through the room. It reeked with a stinky smell. The girl with blue hair told him that they were doing illegal genetics work to animals and monsters, trying to create the strongest biological weapon to use in wars. They were inhuman with their research. They entered the next room to find the various monsters kept in liquid chambers stored for research. They walked towards a researcher telling them that the professor was expecting them. Wang was amused. She entered to inform the professor about their arrival. He comes out and greets them, referring to the girl as Momo Zia. Momo asked the professor to get to the main point, asking about a special cure for her grandpa, but he told her that he won't give it to her unless she gives him the scroll he asked for. Wang got started to understand everything now, as the professor speaks, telling them that they must have met the special guards and he had been working on their boosters. And it's not even the maximum power. He worked on the gene hybridization, and the owner of the institute wanted to make a weapon for the government, calling them all fools. He started telling that the sacrifices must be made. He had to do research on humans too. Momo didn't like the idea and charged towards him, pinning him to the chamber, asking him to give her the cure, but he told her he didn't make it yet and he needs the scroll to finish his work. Momo got mad and started beating him up, kicking him and punching him. The girl working with him in the lab coat pulled out a gun and aimed it at Momo, warning her that she cannot understand what they were working on, and such a pathetic being like Momo wouldn't understand anyway. Momo didn't like how she spoke to her and charged forward, attacking her and knocking her back, calling her a monster for doing tests and research projects on humans. They didn't deserve to exist. While Wang listens, he feels his core burning up and glowing. He tries to reach for Momo, but suddenly he disappears and his cube falls to the floor. Momo turns around to find Wang has vanished. Momo didn't care about him leaving and told them she would break the whole lab on her own. Wang was teleported devoid of the cube, tearing up, happy that the cube restored their energy and returned back to him using the obsidian stone to come back to life. The cube informed Wang that he had upgraded his powers and skills and is ready to use once he consumed the obsidian stone. Momo decided to release the monsters. Meanwhile, the special guards had already arrived to the lab. The bats started attacking them, but one of the guards used his power to burn the bats, vanishing them and turning them to ashes. The blind man started shouting in fear, saying the word power over and over. It seems like he was sensing something scary going to happen. The person who used fire mocked him for being scared, especially that he had so much power. He kept walking through the corridor, leading the guards behind him, but suddenly a dinosaur-like lizard fell on him from the ceiling, ripping his body apart and killing him. The guard with a whip wrapped her whip around its arm and pulled it towards her, while Blind Guy charges a punch and penetrates through its body. Meanwhile, Momo was running towards the exit she had planned to use to escape, but found a dead end instead. She started checking the map, but suddenly the special guards had managed to find her. She unsheaths her sword, ready to attack her as she uses the whip, slashing and whipping towards her, but she managed to block all of her attacks. She got close range with her fighting her, but the girl was very strong. She finally managed to wrap her whip around her wrist using electric charge to paralyze her. Ordering the blind guy to attack, he runs towards her and punches down on the floor, damaging her while she flips her over using the whip, throwing her onto the floor. Momo was defeated. She was ready to die. She started slamming the floor, being mad. She didn't want to lose now, not after all she had done so far. The special guard female told her that they were kidnapped when they were younger and they got trained and used for research purposes inhumanly. Momo told her that this is not an excuse for the cruel actions. The guard told her she would never understand since she was a spoiled princess, ordering the blind guy to attack, but suddenly the time freezes and purple lightning appeared all around Momo. It seems like Wang had arrived to the place and stopped the blind guy, punching him, throwing him onto the air and knocking him back to the floor. Wang looked at Momo and smiled. She was so happy to see him. She started tearing up, but then punched him to scold him for disappearing so suddenly. Meanwhile, the cube sensed a huge wave of monsters approaching. He grabbed Momo's arm as they approached and teleported them both out, leaving the guard to meet her fate. After they were both teleported to the sewers, Momo had changed her attire to a diving set, telling Wang that she only brought one set for herself, but just then suddenly the guy with white hair and white small beard approached them and told them that they wasn't leaving to anywhere and they will have their end here. The cube informed Wang that this guy had a massive power core, that even Wang had not sensed him. After they've met the guy with the white beard, he acted coldly towards them as if they were way weaker than him. Wang asked the cube why wasn't he able to feel him or sense his presence, but the cube explained that he was hiding his power core and his power is massive, that the guy in red hair surpassed Wang's strength. Momo aimed her sword at him, calling him Lilika, asking him about the reason he was there. He told her that they must have informed her he was out of the country doing some mercenary work, but instead he was here searching for two small fishes trying to grow up in power, as he was referring to Wang and Momo. He then asked them to join him. He tried to reach with his hand for Momo, but Wang stopped him, grabbing his wrist and then dashed towards him, digging a shuriken into his wrist. Lei held his wrist up and started turning his hand onto an axe. Momo was surprised. They started fighting each other as Lei slashes with his hands towards Wang and Wang keeps on dodging and then pushed him onto the sewers. The guy teleported and tried to attack Wang, but Momo appeared from behind him and tried to attack him, but he twisted his join and blocked her attack. She was flabbergasted. He then performed a kick to Wang and turned back to walk towards Momo, but suddenly Wang appeared from behind him, kicking his face as if he was some AMV edit on YouTube. Lei didn't receive the kick but stood still, grabbing his leg and started spinning around to fight finally slam him onto the floor, breaking the ground beneath him, while he tries to stab him after shifting his arm to a sword. Momo threw a knife towards his hands, stopping his attack, and quickly disappeared, running above him, then dashing towards him before he dodges it. He shifted his eyes towards Wang and tried to punch him, but he teleported behind him and dug his knife into his right cheek, making him bleed, so he jumped quickly out of the way. Wang mocked him and held his arms up. Lee laughed, telling Wang that he might have underestimated him. Wang asked the cube to use his newly acquired power and transfer some of his strength to the blade he's holding, but the cube explained that the percent of the blade exploding is very high. Lee used advantage of Wang being absent-minded and punched him to the face. Momo tried to attack him, but he blocked her attack and threw her sword away. Wang jumped from behind her and tried to punch him, but he grabbed his arm and flipped him over to slam him onto the floor. Wang looked in real pain. He then threw Momo into the sewers and kicked Wang using while keeping his hands in his pockets casually. He then mocked Wang for not being able to use his forbidden skill, referring to teleportation skill. Wang looked over at Momo and asked her to escape while he distracted him. He used a trash bag and kicked it onto his face, but Lei pushed it away and then tried splashing water to him, distracting him from the final strike. Wang kicked a grenade towards him, but he enlarged his hand and grabbed it before it blows up in his hand. Wang and Momo used advantage of the explosion and started running off. Lee dashed towards them trying to catch Momo with a punch, but Wang stopped him attempting to attack him, but he grabbed his arm and slammed him back onto the floor. Momo attacked him again using her sword, but he grabbed it and punched her away. Wang was panting onto the floor, but he didn't give up. He punched him once more in his stomach, but he never flinched as it was not effective. Lei then slammed Wang back onto the wall and walked towards him. Meanwhile, Wang asked the cube for how much time will it take for the gem merge to be finished, and the cube answers that it's going to take around 1 minute. Lei grabbed Wang by the neck and pinned him to the wall, choking him while mocking him for acting heroic, telling him that he will rip his body parts into pieces. Suddenly, Momo appeared behind him and stabbed his chest with her sword, penetrating his body. He let go off Wang's neck, but the cube sensed that Lei's vital signs were as stable as they should. Wang coughed out while warning her from him as she dodges his grapple and started running around him in a circle, performing a barrage of attacks, but he blocked each one and tried attacking her back, but she jumped onto the air. She was surprised to be blasted away and into the wall by a weapon from his hand. Wang was extremely scared over Momo. He was damaged enough to cough out blood from his mouth. Lei started walking towards Momo while grabbing her sword, telling her that he will give her an honorable death by killing her using her own sword. Using this advantage, the cube told him that the shuriken was prepared and enhanced with power, but it only has 30 seconds to explode. Wang dashed forward, sprinting towards Lei, and stabbed him with it through his hand, but Lei thought he was trying a weak move and replied to him with a massive punch, throwing him back and slamming him onto the wall. While Lei, thinking this was a fake trick Wang used, the blade exploded into his hand and froze him and all of his surroundings. Momo rushed to Wang, checking on him and picking him up. They thought it was all over at this point, but instead, the cube whispered to Wang, telling him that Lei's power was raising up and counting like a timer. Wang screamed to Momo, telling her to run. As they ran off, the frozen pieces of ice shards started falling over them while they dodged it, and Lei's power was still rising by the second. Finally, they've met a dead end, but also could have led them to the exit. Wang told Momo to leave, but she didn't want to leave him. Meanwhile, Lei was running towards them, angrily screaming that no one will escape. Wang pushed Momo onto the water and turned around to stare at Lei. Lei kept charging forward while the cube counts his power threshold rising up, and suddenly, Wang disappeared within thin air and teleports to the void. While Momo dives into the sewer's water, carrying the cube on her diving set and swimming to the escape exit, Lei was furiously angry that they managed to escape and started punching the wall. Wang laid down into the void, taking a nap because he felt extremely exhausted. He then suddenly woke up to find himself in a room with Momo, offering him to join on her project. Wang was shocked, but he started remembering how he ended up in that place. He asked her what project was she talking about. The curtains gets lift and training gym appears down the windows. She told him that this was a training institute for World Superpower Championship. Wang held his hand against her face and refused her offer, but she told him that the 43rd championship winner was Chiego Chen. Wang got intrigued even more at that info. She told him that Chiego was very fast and stealthy, and he would never manage to catch him on his own, so he got to collaborate with them in case he wanted to find where Shen Yao had gone. Wang had no other choice except to take her offer, smiling at her, telling her that he agrees. Momo bounces up happy that she successfully completed her team now and is ready to start.